Hello, bonjour everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Cyril. I have been a stem cell researcher for quite some time, and this is why I can tell you about the science that is behind skincare ingredients. If you are not new to my channel, you will know that I have a puppy, a baby dog. His name is Kbeauty, and for today's I didn't want to bring him to the video because he was asleep, so I didn't want to wake him up, but probably you will see him tomorrow. So for today's video, I'm going to review two products from Then I Met You, and I will also do the formula breakdown of the two new product, which is basically a toner and an essence. So Then I Met You is a skincare brand that was created by the co-founder of Soko Glam, and her name is Charlotte Cho. And basically she was one of the first person that have created a website to sell Kbeauty product in the United States, and Soko Glam also shipped internationally if you are interested to buy Kbeauty product. So personally I've been using and playing with Kbeauty products for a very long time, since my first trip in South Korea, which was in 2013, so it was way before there is any worldwide booming of the Kbeauty product. And from the beginning I was pretty impressed by the formula, because even though when a product is not perfectly formulated, every time you find a lot of humectants. You also find niacinamide, which are always like on the top 3 list of ingredients and etc. So even though you don't necessarily have like a flawless formula, you always have lots of humectants and also skin supporting ingredients like niacinamide, which is why you always tend to have better results with a Kbeauty product with I would say standard Western product, just because like the fundamental are already here in the formula. So like I said, Then I Met You was launched very recently. I think the brand is 1 year old or something like that. And their first launches was a double cleansing duo. So the promotion and also the packaging are really outstanding, and it is very beautiful. So I have got them in my last trip when I was in the United States. So I got the cleansing balm and the soothing tea cleansing gel. I have to say that I don't use them quite often, and the reason is because I don't like them much, and I'm going to tell you why. So first let's talk about the balm. Balms are one of my favorite first step to cleanse my skin. I generally tend to prefer them over an oil, even though I am currently using an oil. I use the one from Adalabo, the cleansing oil, and I love them because of the feels that they give on the skin. I found them very soothing and pleasant to use at the end of the day, especially the one that glides beautifully on the skin, and you feel the wax from the balm that melts, and then you massage your skin. And I really like this the feeling of them. This balm contains lots of different oils, which I would say are sort of fancy. Also, the first one is olive oil. You also have grapeseed oil, sea breadthorn oil that is pretty at the end of the formula, even though it is promoted by Then I Met You, and you also find babazu oil. So the blend of oil is of course very different from the one that you could find in, I would say, more conventional balm like the Banana Co, which doesn't use any bougie oil, but something that is very standard. I found that those type of oils, especially in a cleansing balm, is pretty wasteful, and the reason is because this is not meant to stay on the skin, and you are going to rinse it off and then follow it by a water-based cleanser. So therefore it is not worth to put that type of oil, because your skin will not have the benefit from them. Now, in terms of texture, it is very satisfying when you take it on your hands, but when you melt it, it is still a pretty, I would say, a thick balm that doesn't glide that much on the skin. And every time you use an oil or a cleansing balm, it is very important to spend like 20 seconds to really massage in the skin, and therefore I really like something that really glides into the skin, and this is not the case of this one. So it's a bit so I am a bit so especially for the price, and you only get 90 grams, I guess. Yeah, 90 grams, so it is pretty expensive for an experiment that is not that cleansing. It also has essential oils, which is rosewood, grapefruit and rosemary oil. I mean, the smell is not overpowering, and it is like therapeutic. I don't mind it, but I'm not crazy about it. It is not a deal breaker for me, simply because, again, this is a rinse-off product. This is not something that will stay on your skin. And if you want to know what I think about essential oils and also fragrance, just check my previous video on it. A cleansing balm that I found much better, and it is actually cheaper than this one. It is the one from Kbeauty. This is the Total Renew Balm, and this one is a dupe of the clinic one, the Take the Day Off, the cleansing balm. The difference is that this one contains perfume, but this one is very, very beautiful. It really melts into your skin, it glides beautifully on your skin, so you can really like massage it, and yet you still have like this balmy texture. It is very easy to rinse, and also it doesn't strip off your skin from the precious lipid. This one is definitely one that I would recommend. So now what about the Soothing Tea Cleansing Gel? So this one comes like a gel, which is more of a jelly texture, a little bit reminiscent from the one from Kbeauty, the Matcha Hemp Cleansing Gel, which is one of my favorite cleanser. So the overall formula of this one is it's pretty good. It contains very mild detergent. It is also an acidic cleanser, which I am all about. I strongly discourage you to use any basic cleanser which basically contain soap. This is from far the worst thing that you can do for your skin. So this one contains glycerin, D-glycerin. D-glycerin is basically 2 molecules of glycerin that are linked together, so beautiful and very classic humectant, even though D-glycerin is not that classic. It also has soothing ingredients with licorice extract, Centella asiatica. It also has tea extract, panthenol, hyaluronic acid. So overall it is pretty well formulated, and again it also contains a blend of essential oil. I will comment at the end, but it is camphor oil, tea tree oil, and also orange essential oil. So it is a light foaming. This is absolutely not a stripping for the skin. Like I said, it has an acidic pH. It is pretty pleasant to use. It is not as pleasant as the Kbeauty that I love so much, but it's okay. There's one thing that I really dislike about it, is really the scent, the perfume in it from the essential oils. I really don't like the smell. So you really smell the tea tree oil in it with this orange, and I really don't find that those two perfumes mix well together, and this is basically the main reason why I stay away from it, because I really dislike the smell, but it is not stripping for the skin. Overall, it is not worth the price. And I think that they are far better option in the market. So I'm not crazy about the duo. So now I'm going to do the breakdown of the two new products, which is the Birch Milk Refiner Toner and the Giving Essence. And together we will see if by just looking at the formula it is really worth a try or not, and I will also give you my recommendation. So first, the toner. The main ingredient is birch sap, so I went on the PubMed, which is my source of scientific proper data. There's basically nothing on the use of birch sap for the skin. So I would guess, like most plant sap, it contains lots of complex sugar, aka polysaccharide. So therefore, I would guess this is rich in humectants. It also has an extract of marshmallow roots, which is supposed to be an anti-inflammatory root. Again, there is almost no data on it, so it's very hard to comment on it. There are also squalane and shea butter. They are at very low concentration. It is for sure below 1%. I'm not a big fan of toner that have a high content of oil or emollients, because it is very important in the first stage that you really increase the humectant, and then you follow it by a product that is rich in emollient to really like lock in the water. Because here it is at a very low concentration, I don't mind it at all. And we also have a blend of AHA, which is basically glycolic acid and lactic acid. I would love to know the proper concentration of them. I just know that glycolic acid and lactic acid make 1% of the formula. So just based on that, you will only have a very, very mild exfoliation, and I would guess that those AHA are useful in this formula to lower the pH of this toner, which is excellent. There's also gluconolactone, which is a polyhydroxy acid that acts like an AHA but is not as irritating as an AHA. Again, the concentration is probably super low, so it's likely not really useful in this formula. There's also another ingredient that is pretty at the end of the formula, which is a wintergreen extract, and I've done a little bit of research on it, and it is and I think it is an ingredient that is sold as Ami Perfect, which is a natural option for salicylic acid. So most likely this extract is from the essential oils from wintergreen that has been processed to extract the salicylic acid. This is at least how the manufacturer sells it. Again, I don't have the concentration. Most likely it is below 1%, so again it is not really useful. Salicylic acid in a toner should be at least at 1% to have at least any efficacy on the skin. Last but not least, there is also rose water, which is basically floral water. Most of them are a little bit similar as essential oils, but the difference is that the fragrance component are much more diluted than what you would find in essential oils. This being said, I have used products that contains the rose flower water, and they are not that problematic because some of those rose water are not fragrant at all, like the one from The Ordinary. The glycolic acid 7% toner does contain this ingredient pretty high. I think it is the first ingredient and the second one, something like that, but you don't smell at all the extra, so I think it really depends on the manufacturer. Some of them has to be fragrance and other are not. I am hoping that this one is not fragrant because it is always better to stay away from any fragrance, whether they are from essential oils, aka natural fragrance, which doesn't mean anything, or synthetic fragrance. It's always better to avoid them in skincare. So overall, what do I think about this toner? I would guess because it is a Kbeauty product, it is really rich in humectant, most likely from the Birch sap, and also that it has an acidic pH, which is excellent. I've never tried this ingredient, and because of the lack of any scientific literature, I cannot comment more, and this is definitely the type of product that if you want to know that they are useful in your skincare routine, you have to try them and experiment with them to see if they are or not hydrating, which is something that it is pretty easy to test at home. If you use those type of products, you will see that your skin start to be plumper. In that case, that means that they are indeed hydrating. But because it contains a lot of plants extract, always be careful because you might react to it, aka having an allergy to them, and you can never also exclude that your skin can have a low level of inflammation. So if you want to be very safe, just avoid those type of products. So now let's move on to the Giving Essence. And Essence, it's a Kbeauty product that is meant to be between the toner and the serum. This one is, I would say, in the traditional Kbeauty type of essence because it contains a lot of fermented ingredients. So fermented ingredients in Kbeauty product comes in two forms. The first one is the ferment by themselves, so it could be a bacteria such as the one that you find in yogurt, or the one that is used also to ferment the rice in traditional cooking. It also could be Saccharomyces. Saccharomyces is a yeast. This is the same yeast that you use to make bread dough. And therefore you can have the filtrate from them, which is basically what they release into the medium where they grow. And this is called a ferment because those cells use the fermentation to power themselves, basically. And those ferment extracts can be rich in different amino acids, different complex sugar, like the Saccharomyces, for example, is rich in beta-glucan. It also contains different type of sugar. So basically they are a sort of food for cells, and they can be rich into humectant, probably antioxidant, and also probably into anti-inflammatory ingredients. I say probably because again there is almost no scientific data on them. The other category that is not found here is when one of those bacteria or yeast is used to ferment another type of ingredient, such as the one that you find in the Kbeauty from Kbeauty. One of the ingredients here is a fermented tea oil, which is a beautiful oil for the skin that has been fermented by one of those ferment. And the idea of the fermentation is the bacteria or the yeast is going to break down the big molecules of the primary ingredient into smaller ones. So in that sense, it is interesting, but again, there is a paucity of information and we don't know much about them. So in this essence, we have three different types of filters. The first one is from galactomyces. This is exactly the same ferment that you find in the super pricey SK2 essence, the first essence or something like that, that is named the Pitera extract. The story behind it is that people that were fermented rice, because this is a ferment that is found in rice, if I'm not mistaken, when they are fermented, their hands were super soft, and this is where the story begins around it. Again, I went on the timeline and there is almost no scientific data on it. Then we find Aspergillus ferment extract, and the last one is, like I said, the Saccharomyces extract. That is probably the one that has a little bit more of scientific data. Another one that is really well known that I've already talked about on my channel is Bifida extract, that is unfortunately not found here. And for this one we have some nice paper that show that it is anti-inflammatory for the skin, skin soothing, and overall it strengthens the skin barrier. I would expect results a bit similar for those one, but again I cannot be sure of it. So it's only my personal opinion. Also pretty high in the ingredient list we find niacinamide. I would love that then I met you disclose the concentration of niacinamide, because if it's at least at 2%, we do know that it does work on the skin, and this is a skin supportive ingredient. Niacinamide is a beautiful ingredient, and it also helps to brighten the skin tone. So then I met you also advertise the fact that it contains allergic acid. Allergic acid is a product from the metabolism of plants that you also find in fruits. There is basically no data on it, on the role on the skin, so I cannot comment much. Maybe if it's an acid, it also can act as a really mild exfoliant, but basically I don't know. So again, an ingredient that we don't know much about it. We also found polyglutamic acid that you also find in the INCI list. They have a serum featuring this ingredient. So this one is a polymer made of amino acid, and it is supposed to act like hyaluronic acid, so it is humectant. I don't have much experience with it, so I won't comment that much, and again there is not that much of scientific data on it. And we also find hyaluronic acid in this essence. Then we have a lot of botanical extract, mainly from red berries, such as blackcurrant, raspberries, blueberries, and etc. So they are known to be antioxidant. When you eat them on the skin, we don't know. So I've already talked about this on my channel, especially with Glow Recipe. If you watch my video on three brands that makes me sad, I've already talked about it. This whole idea that fruits, for example, are really healthy when you eat them, are therefore beneficial for the skin, is something that is simply not truth. And one of the reasons, because when you are eating something, you have all the digestive process that is going to break down all the molecules in those fruit and make them more assimilable in your body, which is not the case when they are applied on the skin. So does it mean that they are bad for the skin? No, but does it mean that they are good? Also, no, we basically do not know. I still like the fact that there are several of them, so even though one of them could be not really useful, maybe another one would be, but again, we don't have any scientific data to really show that they are indeed antioxidant when they are used on the skin. It seems that they are total extract from fruits, but I cannot be sure of it because it is not disclosed. But most likely they also contains a lot of sugars. Again, sugars are humectant, which is always something that you want in your skincare routine, but the counterpart of it is, of course, because of the amount of botanical extract, you cannot exclude the fact that you can react to one of those ingredients, aka having an allergic reaction. You can also exclude that it can create some low level of inflammation of the skin. We are in the unknown. There are also notorious skin-soothing ingredients such as licorice extract, aloe vera, which I obviously love. And also from looking at the formula, it appears that there is no notorious allergen, aka any fragrance component, which I also love. And it is also probably the same for the toner. So for this, I really like it. Of course, the toner and also the essence contains a lot of different botanical extracts where there are basically no scientific data on it, so we don't know if they can create contact allergic dermatitis. I didn't look for all of them, but I did look for a few of them, and there were no reports of contact dermatitis. So I would say that for now, they can be considered to be safe. But always be careful. So do I recommend them and would I buy them? I am actually interested by buying them. There's two reasons for it. The first one is because I've never tried any product from Birch sap, and I really want to give it a try because it looks to be very humectant. And I have a sort of faith into Kbeauty product. I remember the first time that when I went into Korea, it was the booming of snail cream, and the first time I saw it, I was like, what is that? And I got a sample in the shop, and when I tried it, it was one of the best humectants. So definitely, especially in Kbeauty, there is the market is under a lot of pressure to have new products, but that are very efficient on the skin. And like I said, a humectant product, this is something that is very easy to test. You can clearly see the results on your skin, but bear in mind that when you use humectant products, you always need to pair them with an emollient product, aka a moisturizer, to really lock in the water that has been attracted by those humectants. But again, they are botanical extracts, so always be careful with your skin. You might react to them and you might be sensitive to them. So when you try those type of products, you are always taking a risk. I have to say that the packaging and also the marketing is really beautiful despite the fact that there is no scientific data. So in that way, this is definitely not right on my alley. But I think in the future I will try them, and I will also give it another review on them to tell you how they perform on the skin. But they are definitely not, like I said, like staple product. For me personally, they are more like fun product to try, and also to know more about I would say ingredients like Birch sap, just to try it and know how they work. I do like the blend of acid in the toner, I have to say, and also like the different filtrate component, because I have a lot of experience with them, and I have to say that this is the type of product that when you use them for a month, you can clearly see that your skin looks better, and when you stop to use them, you see that your skin is a little bit less brightened, a little bit less, I would say, healthy looking, despite the fact that we are still lacking any scientific data on them. So comment down below and tell me if you have ever tried those two babies and if you would want to try them. If you like this video, please thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to ring the bell to not miss any of my new videos. You can also follow me on Instagram. I am Cyril Laurent. I have a lot of content over there. I thank you so much for watching me, and I will see you next time with my dog. So stay tuned. Bye bye. Au revoir.